everyone, and welcome to Youth Group. For the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about the lifelong adventure that is learning to know and follow God. First, we said that knowing God is an adventure, not a formula. And part of that adventure is learning how you best connect with your Creator. Next, we talked about how there are important other people on our journey, and that our relationships are a choice, not an accident. This week I want to talk about a third thing that's going to help us on our journey toward knowing and following God. And that's learning how to share our own stories of faith. But there are a few reasons that you might have questions or objections about this. You might think, I don't even know what I think about God yet. So what story am I supposed to share? We're going to talk about that. But yes, you do have a story to share. You might wonder, I still have so far to go on my journey. What am I supposed to share? We're going to talk about that too, because you also have a story to share. You might ask, how is sharing my story supposed to help me know God better? I thought the point of sharing my story was to let people know I'd already gotten to know God. Shouldn't sharing my story be the end of my story? Good question. Unlike most adventure stories, our stories of faith, they don't get written at the end of our journey. They get written along the way. Kind of like Harry Potter. Now, you may be thinking the Harry Potter story is written and done. I know the entire thing beginning to end. Well, me too. But there was a point in time where I didn't know how the story would end. You see, I was growing up as the books were being written. I didn't see all of the movies and then read the spark notes of the books. Nope, I read every book and uncovered the wizarding world as it was being written. I followed along on the adventures with Harry and his friends, Ron and Hermione. I can remember the 7th grade waiting for the release of that final Harry Potter book, The Deathly Hallows. I couldn't wait to see how that last adventure for Harry and his crew was going to end. Part of the magic of this story is that I didn't know how or when it would end. I watched the characters Harry and Ron and Hermione, I watched them grow and their story grow and change for years. Just like stories that so many people know and love, you don't need to know how your story ends in order for your story to matter and to make a difference. So what is your story about? Your story is about who you are, where you've come from, and where you're going, and how you've discovered God in the midst of all of it. Your story is still in progress, and that's a good thing. The power of stories is woven into the fabric of our faith. Scripture is literally a giant book of stories, detailing people's experiences with God. They're stories of a divine being speaking life into existence. The rise and fall of kingdoms and empires, underdogs and misfits, redemption and renewal, death and life, and stories of miracles and healings. We're going to take a look at a story from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5. They went across the lake to the region of Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. A large herd of pigs were feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs and allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending to the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him go, but said, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. Now that is a crazy story. The Bible is full of stories like this, but there's something interesting about this particular story. In this story, Jesus tells this man to turn around and share his story with others. This man's life had been changed radically by Jesus. He certainly didn't have all of the answers or have his faith completely figured out. He still had a lot further to go on his faith journey, but Jesus told him to talk about it anyway. Just like Jesus invited this man to share his story when his story was still in progress, God invites you to do the same. No matter how recently you've met Jesus, and no matter how much he's changed your life, you are already invited to share the story with others. Your story is in progress, not complete, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't share it.